Hey guys, um, just wanted to quickly check and make sure that you can hear me. Let's just give everyone a couple of minutes and then we can get started. Okay, great. Great to see a few familiar faces. Egg boy. Great to see a few new faces over here as well. So I think it's good to see that the community is still here and um, looking at what we're doing. And yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of conversation that we have over here. And the idea is to just have a very honest conversation here um, about all the things that have happened so far in the past 10 days and what that means for us and where we're going from here, right? So, for all the new folks that have joined us out here, let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Jayant Ramanand. I'm the co-founder of Mantra. People at Mantra know me as Jay. Um, in addition to that, I have the privilege of being the first employee that ever joined Mantra and started building up from 2020 September to where we are right now. And one of the things that I've seen in the media while all of the events have unfolded is a lot of misinformation that's out there. So I think let's just start off with a little bit of context that there was liquidations that happened and that cascading liquidations led to a drastic drop in price. And a lot of it started off on the perpetuals market. And if I'm being completely honest, I'm not necessarily a trader. I have a theoretical understanding of what of how perps work, but not necessarily from a participant in the industry's ecosystem of how these things actually function. So I'm just going to leave it at all of the conversation that's happened. JP, that's been doing a phenomenal job of being out there explaining what's going on. I think for today, what I actually wanted to focus on was the fact that there are a lot of misinformations out there at this point in time. And I understand that there are people that are circulating facts that are frankly untrue. So I wanted to use this opportunity as a way to look at some of those things that are floating around, specifically around the fact that the team controls 90% of the token supply, which is blatantly incorrect. And it also stems from the fact of how does this bridge function and what is the mirror bucket like. So for today's conversation, actually, rather than go into explaining the bridge itself, because if you look at it, we have a transparency report that's been out for a period of time, and it explains clearly how the bridge mechanism functions. So I'll just leave it at that document over there that's able to provide more particular um, context as to exactly how that works. So one of the things that I want to look at today is how exactly does this function and what does that mean for the circulating supply of ohm? So right now there's 888 million ohm legacy ohm on the EVM side of things. And when we launched Mantra Chain, which launched only in October of 2024, so we're still within the first 200 days of our launch. Um, One of the things that became clear when you guys voted as part of the community back in 2024 February that we should have one single token that is also like going to become the chain token. One of the critical technical problems that it poses is how do we bridge this live token onto its own chain where it's also being the network security token that's functioning. Um, so since then, we've been thinking about it, and I want to look at the decision making behind how we arrived at the bridge and why it functions the way it does. So there were a couple of options that came about. The first one being that we either start burning the ohm because the idea is that we want to burn the legacy ohm and then have it live on its new home, which is Mantra Chain. So the idea was either we burn the ohm and then we have minter keys available on Mantra Chain, which mints as it goes. Um, or the other option was to have like another bridge, which would be a honeypot problem where you lock up the ohm and then it's released from there, meaning like that's where the hacks happen. These are things that concern me primarily because if you look at if you look at exactly what hacks have happened in crypto in the time prior to that, and this is from February last year and before that, several $billion of assets were hacked over there. And that was a concern that I had as to how we are set up over here. So the best way to prevent this and make our bridge as bulletproof as possible, the decision was to free mint the Ethereum supply and have it locked away in this wallet that you can see on Mantra chain as well. And the idea was that as we burn Ohm on EVM side, we will release Ohm from this point. No Ohm is released without a burn transaction corresponding to it. So the way that it works is that there's a digital twin, but the digital twin can only be released once the underlying has been burnt, and that enters the circulating supply. So that is how the mirror bucket functions over there, and that's what I wanted to take a little bit of time to chat about. And one of the things that has also come about is that by doing it in such a way, I can assure you that our bridge has multiple levels of checks in place. And so that is definitely not going to get hacked at any point in time. So that's what has led to the decision making of how we've set up the bridge over here. Now I understand and I hear you that you want more transparency about how this functions and exactly what it works. And to be honest, I can understand that it's complicated when you have like an EVM blockchain, which is now being burnt over there, the token to become the native staking token of its own blockchain. So part of that comes down to how do these blockchains talk to each other? So as far as technology is concerned, we need to figure out a way that we can do this without putting any of the value at risk because there's an active live token that's been in existence for the past 4 years, 4.5 years now. So that's where the bridge decision making came in from. And the other part of it that I wanted to chat with you about today is that while we've gone through this entire thing and explained line by line how it's happening, there is so much misinformation on Twitter at this point in time that even if I were to go and respond to every single tweet, I wouldn't be able to change people's opinions because there's just that many more people that are regurgitating incorrect falsehoods. Um, so the best way that I can think about it is that misinformation can't be tackled with like more information over there. It needs to be tackled with education and transparency and like rebuilding the trust that we need to as a community over here. So the idea over here is that we have this own dashboard that we've put out. Now, with this dashboard, what we can expect is more transparency that's come about. You can look at everything in real time. You can see what's happening. You can definitely tell that all of the tokens that are sitting where they are exactly where they are and they haven't been touched. And you can track all of the transactions on chain. And part of it is to put it into context and be able to show that to you. So that's one part of our transparency. The second part of it is that in addition to all of the things that you can see on the dashboard, the other part is that we will also be putting out a bot either on Telegram or Twitter that tracks all of these token transactions that take place or transfers that happen. So that way that you in the community will always know exactly what's happening and you will always know exactly where the tokens are and how they're moving. And one of the things that would become clear to you then is that all of the team tokens that have been locked up and sitting have been locked up and sitting for that entire period of time. And now I just wanted to say that like I'm generally a slightly more introverted person and I don't take time to come onto the camera in this way. And primarily the reason I'm doing it today is because of JP's announcement that he's going to burn 150 million of his tokens, right? Like now that's insane levels of trust that you have from a person in making a project that's actually going to be here for the long term. But what that's also doing is making it harder for us to see through on this entire like long-term journey that we're on. So part of it is that we have this burn program that's going on. I'm happy to like give you more information about it. Primarily that we have our stake tokens that are unstaking, which have been set up for since Genesis for network security. Those unstaking tokens will become available on April 29th. We will burn 150 million of those tokens, and the transaction hash of that will be made available to you in our community, and then you can tell for certain that this transaction has taken place. In addition to that, I also just wanted to touch upon the fact that I've been with Mantra for the past 4 years. There's been things where there was someone that said that the entire team is different, and then there's just somebody else that's gone ahead and started building this out. I've known JP for the last 4.5 years, and we've been building out on this future of like this RWA blockchain, which can bring real world assets onto uh, blockchain rails and be able to transfer value as quickly as we're able to transfer value in crypto. Um, but one of the things with real world assets, and it's in its name, is that it's real world, right? Which means that the real world is complex and sometimes it can get messy. And for the first time, the technology is there today for us to be able to tokenize assets and bring them onto a blockchain. What we need to work on collectively, and this is going to be a multi-year effort, is to start getting not just blockchain value itself the way we perceive it, but real world value onto a blockchain. So every single business can be brought onto a blockchain, every single thing can be tokenized. But when you tokenize it, you're also taking on board all of the legal side of things and how things work in the real world. So this is a multi-year approach, and it'll take several years at this point in time, working with regulators closely, businesses, and working towards bringing these tokens on chain. Because like when we look at tokenizations or RWAs as a sector in general, right? There are several different aspects of it. There are either the capital markets that you're tokenizing, then there's real estate that you're tokenizing, then there's commodities that you're tokenizing. But every single time you tokenize anything, what you're basically saying is, let's take how things happen in the Web 2 world or in the real world, for example, and let's bring it on chain. But now on chain, we can transfer value and verify things in instantly. However, the off chain world that hasn't caught up with that speed yet. So this is a process that will take several years to go forward. And that sort of brings me to a couple of things that I wanted to have a conversation with you guys about, right? Which is in this multi-year effort, right? Because in this imagined future, I believe that all of these businesses that currently exist in the real world will be able to come back and build on a blockchain. And to be able to do that, you require a particular blockchain that is capable of hosting these. So that has been the entire reason for us to have started building Mantra Chain out itself. And the next part of this conversation over here is that in this multi-year effort that we've got going on, how would we actually go about incentivizing the team to actually be able to do this? Because now you've got JP who is burning all of his tokens, right? And that's the conversation I want to have with you, because it's about how do we rebuild trust together as a community. Um, how do we come together and ensure that we're able to make Ohm the token that is going to be the linchpin of this entire ecosystem that's coming on board? And how do we take that forward? So I'm going to read through a few questions that have come in. And there's one that's happened, which is like, how will value generated at the protocol level accrue to Ohm? So the way that it works is that, at least in the way that I'm imagining it at this point in time would function, is that as we start bringing more of these businesses on chain, right? So we have the real estate business that's coming on chain because now we have regulated entities that are tokenizing land deeds, and actual ownership now exists on a blockchain. So as and when we start to evolve every single part of this business and more assets start to come on chain, all of the revenue that accrues towards Ohm, which is in terms of like you need to deposit Ohm to be able to like issue the asset. And once you have revenue, part of it goes towards the protocol over there as well. So the entire thing comes down to all of the revenue that we will start to accrue, which comes all the way back down to Ohm, will be used to essentially go ahead and do these buybacks of Ohm over a regular period of time as and when value happens, right? So that's one element of, as value accrues, more incentive goes towards Ohm. Ohm becomes the linchpin of this entire tokenized ecosystem. And once we have this value coming on chain, then we have more users and interactions taking place as well. So that comes down to how the buyback part of it works and the value over there. But that's only at a protocol level that I'm talking about. Now, in addition to the burn, like you're all asking, where's the buyback? Where's the token? What's going to happen? I actually would rather talk about this in person with some of you. We'll be in Token 2049 to have some of these conversations, as well as I use that opportunity to be able to share some more news as and when it develops. So these are some of the things that have come up. And again, it comes down to that something unfortunate has happened over here. The price has dropped by that amount, which it has in such a short period of time. Uh, and it's not great. It's painful for everyone in the community to see that kind of value destruction take place. But at the same time, it's also that it happened in a way that even if I were, I just wouldn't have been in a position to have been able to do anything about it at that point, because these are happening with tokens that are on perpetuals markets for the most part, and when you have leverage upon leverage, that's what leads to this. So I'm just saying that there are things that are happening that may be outside of our control, but what is within our control is that this future vision of bringing tokenized assets onto a blockchain and to be able to bring all of these business models onto a blockchain, that continues to remain the same. Because in our vision to bring the world of finance on chain, at no point in time does it take into account what's happening in the markets, because markets are volatile. Lots of markets around the world are not doing particularly great, but the vision continues to remain there. So that is some of the things that I wanted to share with you. And I wanted to share it personally because I don't believe that we get a chance to talk too often. So I'd also like to take some questions now, if you had any, and also say that part of the effort towards this misinformation fight that we need to have right now is to provide more education. So we'll be sending out more videos. I will be doing more of these community connects. I'll be answering all of the questions that you have straight up. Um, because the idea is that trust needs to be rebuilt. The only way I can rebuild trust with you is by being present and answering the questions that you have, and not just telling you like what the decision is, but I also want to start sharing with you how the decision making takes place. And we're here and we're going to be here. I've been here for making this vision happen, and I will continue to do it no matter how many years it takes to make that a reality. Um, and as an Indian and a spiritually practicing Hindu, uh, to have Om associated with anything other than good things is something that I take personally. And so to restore that, I am going to be doing whatever I can to bring this vision into reality and take that forward. So some questions over here. Will you be burning any of your own tokens? That's a great question right there. This comes down to the conversation actually that I want to start having with you guys, and maybe take it forward. Uh, so crypto fundamentalists, I'll put a paper out as to exactly how like the value accrual works. Um, so John has gone ahead and burnt his tokens. I will also be like willing to go ahead and do whatever it takes to make that happen. I've been chat. I actually haven't had this chat with John himself, but one of the things I'm thinking about is that if we have half of the team bucket that has been burnt, I still want to make sure that the rest of the team that's behind the scenes and has been toiling away really hard to make this a reality continue to stay incentivized to make this happen. So part of it is like, how do we ensure that the team is incentivized to go ahead over here, while also ensuring that we are able to rebuild the trust that you have. So it's some sort of a conversation that we need to have over here. And part of it is that we've seen the belief that this future of tokenization can exist. Now it's about building towards that in a way in which that you can see step by step exactly what's happening. And real world value is takes time to build, whereas crypto volatility happens on an hour by hour basis. So until we bridge the gap between these two worlds, we're basically straddling two worlds at this point in time. So yes, where are the safeguards for this to not repeat in the future? To be honest, this is a broader industry conversation that we need to be having, um, wherein like if it were to happen in a way wherein there's low liquidity, there is leverage. If something like with this were to happen again with a token similar to that, it is possible. I don't know what safeguards are in place at this point in time, but it's a good conversation for us to be having so that it doesn't repeat at this point in time. Um, so there's another couple of questions over here about when buyback. Again, when buyback will be when JP will be back on, and he'll have some more information to share online with all of us, so we can take a look at that. Um, so do you initiate token burn? So the idea with the token burn is just to tell you that we are so into this that it's not just the monetary incentive, it's the belief that this future is possible. So we initiated the token burn to essentially show you how serious we are about what we're building over here and how dedicated John is towards making this reality happen. But having worked with him for so long, I can tell you that I need him by my side to help build this and go forward, because he's the one that can share this vision with the world. I'm the one that can build it in the background, but then building in a silo doesn't help. So part of it is that we want to rebuild trust over here. The second part of it is that we continue to have RWA projects that we're working with, that we're starting to bring on chain as well. And as and when this happens, we want your buy-in and input as to how you see this ecosystem building out, because it's all about how do we make sure that we build back together and better and stronger. So that's what we're looking at over here. Um, let's see what other questions you guys have out here. Make pump. I'm sorry, guys. Like I don't control a hand pump where I can pump the price over here. All I can do is tell you that I am here no matter how long it takes, no matter how long this road gets, because I have a belief that everyone in the world should be able to have access to value at the tip of their fingers, and they should be able to access finance the way that the rest of the world does in the Web 2 way, but then is left out so many people in banking. So um, that's what I have for you at this point in time. This was a quick update. I also want to point out that this was the first, but it's definitely not the last. I appreciate the hard questions that you've been asking, and I continue to encourage you to do that. I will be here to answer as many of them as I can for as long as I can. And if there's anything specific that you want to know from me, just drop me a link on Twitter, or a comment on Twitter, and we can take it from there. But as such, guys, that was my update for right now. And that is what we've got for today. So if there aren't any other comments or questions, so okay, there's one more. After what has changed in relation to the tokenomics? Apart from the burn, the tokenomics are essentially the same in terms of like we're burning the tokens on Ethereum, and as you burn those tokens and the legacy EVM OM comes to a halt, those will be issued again on Mantra chain. And I guess that means that we need to do a better job of educating ourselves as well as the broader community in terms of how all of these things fit together. So please stay tuned to our dashboard, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Thanks.